Hello, today we are going to talk about cmake-gui. So cmake is an open source project that takes cmake files and files with the name cmake-list.txt and generates build files for other build systems such as GNU Make, Ninja, Microsoft Visual Studio Solutions and projects. And it has two executables, the command line executable that we know and use in the KDE community, which is named cmake, but there's also cmake-gui, another executable. And the part where cmake command line executable generates a build system, so cmake options, which means minus uppercase D, and then minus B for build path and minus S for source path. A very similar command line can be run using the executable cmake-gui, so the same options minus uppercase D, minus B uppercase B for build path, and minus uppercase S for source code file path. So let's install both the cmake command line executable and the cmake-gui command line executable and see how the KDE build system, kdesrc-build uses cmake, and how we can extract the command line that kdesrc-build uses for running cmake, and the exact same command line works for cmake-gui. So first of all, let's install packages. For that, we're going to use apt file. So apt install apt file, already installed, apt file update. So these two steps. And then we're going to look for cmake. So apt file minus I search /usr/bin/cmake. Apt file. So the executable is apt minus file. Okay. So the executable /usr/bin/cmake comes from the deb package cmake. I'm on Kubuntu 23.10, which is a Linux operating system from the Debian family. Let's copy this thing. Okay, let's see the other executable, which is named cmake-gui. So the name of the package is not that evident, so it's cmake-qt-gui. Let's install both packages. Apt install cmake and this thing. Okay, they're already installed. Now let's build a KDE Git repository using kdesrc-build and extract from there the command line needed for running cmake correctly. Okay. So let's, for instance, build a KDE Git repository that depends on other KDE Git repositories. Let's use kcalc. Okay, it should be really fast because I have built most of the KDE Git repositories before. Okay, it finished. And now we need to extract the precise environment variables that are being set before running the cmake command line and the cmake command line that's being used in order to generate build files for the build system that kdesrc uses, kdesrc-build uses by default, which is Ninja Kate. Is the button. So what is the command line of the process started by processes started by kdesrc-build? Let's use such a command line. We could either pipe the standard output and standard error to a file, as we do in here. We can do even more complete, which is to not lose anything, and for that we need to use script. Or in this case, that we know that the standard output will be written correctly, what we're after, we can just run the command line. Okay, so kdesrc-build kcalc should build the kcalc kdgit repository, but only this repository, not kxml-gui, knotifications, etc. For that, we use the command line parameter no-include dependencies. Then we want to not do git operations, such as this one, which is --no -src. And then we also want to do a refresh build to make sure that the cmake configure step is being run completely, which is not shown here. And then we want --debug, which means write to standard output and standard error as much text as kdesrc-build is capable of. Okay, we're going to stop it in here using Ctrl+C because the cmake configure step has finished in here, and in here it started the penultimate step that kdesrc-build does when it builds a kdgit repository such as kcalc, which is compiling or building, which in this case is ninja -j and then 16, which is the number of CPU threads on my computer. So the entire output from the cmake configure step is available, and we're interested on how kdesrc-build starts the cmake command line. So the way it does it is starting from here, where it says generating running cmake targeting Kate Ninja build files, and until here. Let's copy this part to a text editor, and let's look at it. So it says that's going to run a command line cmake -b-s and then -g for the generator to be used, which is Kate -ninja, and then some options with -D. It's also setting some environment variables, and also only after actually setting the environment variables runs the command that it said would run. So what we're interested in is this list of environment variables that are being set, and then the correct cmake command line. So let's convert this thing to an export block. Ctrl-N, Ctrl-V. Replace all. So this thing should become export and then space. This thing should become equals. So now we have bash command lines which set environment variables correctly. And we also need the cmake command line. So these two are in fact equivalent, identical, only that this one is a list of strings for each of the parameter, the arguments in the command line, separated with simple quotes, whereas this one looks like a command line in just one string. So we could take either of these two. Let's take, for instance, this one. Okay, so the simple quotes are extra, so we need to remove them. Replace all. And then in here we need to be careful because -g expects a string and the string contains spaces, unfortunately. So let's try to escape this space and this space by enveloping the entire string kate space minus space ninja with double quotes. Okay. And this is not enough because we also need the correct directory. We can see that the -b parameter to cmake says the current directory. So this means that we also need to take care of this. Okay. Let's look a bit with a difference viewer. Okay, so kdesrc-build says that it's changing to the build directory of the kd git repository kcalc, which is ~kd/build/kcalc, which is what we actually are going to do. Then kdesrc-build says that it's setting environment variables. kdesrc-build is Perl source code, so it's going to use the Perl functionality of setting environment variables, where we're running from bash, so we need to use export space the name of the environment variable equals and then the value. And then it's starting a subprocess, which is cmake-b dot -s, the source directory, the directory where kdesrc-build has git cloned the kcalc kd git repository. And this is how the command line that can be started from bash looks like. Okay. So let's actually rename this directory first to see if what we have in here is enough for building the software correctly. So the two directories that are being created by kdesrc-build are tilde/kd/src/kcalc, which just contains the git clone of the kd git repository kcalc. And then a totally different directory is tilde/kd/build/kcalc, which is being used for the cmake configure generating files, so files necessary for the build system Ninja, and then Ninja doing its things, compiling software, Qt source code generators, MOC, RCC, UIC, and then the actual build artifacts. All of these will be created in the directory tilde/kd/build/kcalc. Okay, so what if we delete this entire directory? Okay, Ctrl-Shift-D, and let's just run this huge list of command lines. Yeah, it's not enough. We also need to create the directory if we just deleted it. So that would be -p, Ctrl-Shift, Ctrl-V. So we've created a directory tilde/kd/build/kcalc. We've changed into it, and then after setting this list of environment variables, which are 6 environment variables, 7, then we could run the cmake command line correctly. The source code is available in this directory. -b dot means the directory tilde/kd/build/kcalc. It created the Kate Ninja build system files. We can see build.ninja file, a .kate project file, etc. And the step cmake configure was successful because we can see the output from cmake that we would expect, which is to find all of the libraries that it should find in the correct place for KDE Frameworks version 6. Those should be taken from tilde/kd/usr. It also found the 2 third-party libraries from the GNU project, which are not dependent on Qt or part of the KDE community, which are GMP and MPFR. And then everything is successful, says optional packages have been found, required packages have been found, and no errors. It didn't say that a required package has not been found, for instance. Okay, and it also confirms that the directory where the files were generated is tilde/kd/build/kcalc. Okay, and then the next step that kdesrc-build actually runs is building using this command line. We can make extra sure that the files generated by cmake were correct by seeing that building software actually works with Ninja. And it works as we would expect. Okay, 56 translation units, C++ translation units were compiled correctly. The executable has been linked correctly, and we can probably also run it correctly. So /bin and then kcalc. And here it is. Okay. So we're trying to use cmake-gui, and cmake-gui can be used in this situation. We just replace the executable name from cmake to cmake-gui. So let's do the exact same thing, exact same steps. So first of all, we delete the directory tilde/kd/build/kcalc. Then we create a directory, change into it, and export environment variables. And then we take this thing, let's do it in a new file, and we just add -GUI. This is the graphical user interface application, a Qt 5 application, which allows you to do what we already did from the command line. So it allows you to set the parameter -b, which means the build directory, which is this edit box combo box where to build binaries. So this is for configuring the -b parameter. The -uppercase S parameter, which is the source code, is this first edit box. Then there's the generator to be used, we're going to run the configure step, which will take the generator that we specified from the command line. Otherwise, we can switch, select another generator. And then the minus uppercase D, which are the options, are going to be used by cmake. So cmake-gui application is split into two steps. From the command line is just one step. From cmake-gui there's two steps. One is called configure and the other one is called generate. So we'll run the step configure first by pressing the configure button. In here it asks me what generator cmake should use. And since the generator that we passed via command line is valid, it pre-selected it in the cmake setup dialog in the specify the generator for this project combo box. The other options are available in the combo box. The two major ones for the Linux operating systems are Ninja, which is this one, and the Unix makefiles. Okay. I do not want to specify any G++ or clang++ compiler. The ones that are installed by using the packages from my Linux operating system are okay. So the G++ from /usr/bin in this case. I press the finish button. The output that's being shown is the output that we can see at the command line when the cmake command line executable runs. So it starts at cmake deprecation warning, this thing. Errors are shown colored in the cmake-gui output. This is a warning, not a error. Okay, and then the exact same text is being shown here. All of the checks are successful. All of the cmake dependencies are found correctly. All of the optional packages are found correctly. All of the required packages are found correctly. And then configuration done. So it stops at this part, configuration done. Because what the cmake command line does is it does the configure part, which ends here. And this is what we did in cmake-gui by pressing the configure button. But the cmake command line then also runs the generate part, which is this part, which takes 0 seconds. Okay, so we've selected the generator to be used, which is kdninja, so it should generate files needed for the build system Ninja with the Kate, which is the KD text editor customization. Okay, this is the summary of the current configurations for the project, which we do not want to configure, but you could. So if you don't like the current values of the configuration for the cmake project, you can change them, you can uncheck checkboxes or check them, you can select another cmake build type, so another cmake build configuration. I use debug. Some other people use rail with debinfo. But I know I like the way the project kcalc is configured here, and I'm going to press the generate button. Okay, let's look if the output now says generating done, and it does. And that's all that you can do in cmake-gui. So you can, for instance, start from scratch. You just start the executable cmake-gui, and then you select in the first edit box the value that's going to be used for the -s command line parameter. Then in here, in where to build the binaries, you select the value that's going to be passed to the -b command line parameter. There's a way to select another generator except kdesrc-build. When you press the configure button, it shows a combo box that you can select. All of these values with -D can be entered in here. So let's look for cmake export compile commands bool on. So the variables are sorted alphabetically. Where are you? cmake export. I do not find them here. Okay. So in this case, we're using cmake-gui not to start with a blank configuration and then provide all of the data via the graphical user interface, but just as a way to visualize what the long cmake command line actually does. So as a visualizer, as an intermediate visualizer for what happens behind the scenes when kdesrc-build calls this long line block of command lines in order to create the build system files that then are going to be used for actually compiling the software. So this is the what I call the cmake configure step. Okay. And similar to what we did in this tab where we used just cmake executable, in here we have used cmake-gui executable. The same configuration files have been created, the same build system files for Ninja have been created, and we can just build the software if you want. Okay, and the build is as successful as using the shorter executable, so cmake, not cmake-gui. So this was how we can use the cmake-gui command line executable in order to visualize what cmake does. So cmake does two steps, configure and generate. They're separated. You can see them in the standard output in here. So it says configuring done and then generating done. And in the cmake-gui graphical user interface application, these two steps are separate. There's a configure button and a generate button. This was the configure button and step, and then the generate button and step. So this is it. Thank you.